Hello all. I'm going to try to make a video of this. Might be a series, might just be a couple of days worth of work clipped together. No, I did not get myself a Chiappa Rhino, although it's a cool gun. This is actually a friend, one of the guys at the gun shop, and he got this, and well, I was honored. He asked me to make him a holster for it, and he's put quite a bit of trust in me. He let me bring this home, keep a hold of it for a couple days, and well, we're going to make up a pattern. And this is how I start. Piece of poster board, folded in half, approximate size of what I might need. And well, this is my secret, one of my favorite tools, a French curve. So when I want to lay out some lines for how I might want this holster to look, this is my guide. And I'll sort of rough it out, and then I will cut it out, see what works. I'll put it on a piece of leather, maybe even a scrap piece, and maybe stitch one up, see how it fits, what I need to change. So this is just the first little bit. This is where I'm going to start. Now this thing's got a cool slant, and I'm probably going to add something to that a little bit later. But for right now, I just want to start, a basic sort of shape. I like to stay maybe a half an inch away from the edge of the frame, and I'll just sort of start drawing some lines in and seeing what I think might be possible. So we can kind of move that out of the way, and this is going to need to have a nice transition, maybe something like this. I'm not sure about the top, the opening, where that'll be, but we'll just fold this in half then, cut with scissors, and that'll mirror it on the other side, and we at least have a start for what this thing's going to look like. Something else I do sometimes is I'll take an existing pattern that I've got, and since I like that, oops, sorry about the noise of the tripod. So if I like that opening on the top of the holster, I can lay that on top of my pattern. And I don't know that I want this cut out there, so I'll just take my French curve again and lay it where I think it kind of looks right. And I'll trace out what I think might be the opening. We're going to make this a belt holster outside, and it's going to have a belt loop system, something similar to my my little Rock Island 38. A start. I had this paper piece from the previous holster that I made for my little Rock Island, and paper's fine, but prefer to work with cardstock, poster board when I can. So I put this on the poster board, and it's not exactly the same. I wanted to smooth the lines out a little bit. I wanted to make it a little tiny bit bigger. So I traced what I wanted to, use my French curve to make real nice curves on there, cut them out with the scissors. And now I'm laying out the slots for what will be the belt holder, the belt loops, a retention screw, and the snaps for the retention strap. So I just put my template over top, use a punch awl to mark all the little holes which transfers them through. And now I'm using another one of my favorite, the circle trace, whatever, stencil, that's what I was looking for. And when you got that center point, each of these little stencils has like crosshairs, and you can do a pretty good job of lining up the crosshairs on that little dot in the middle, and then you've got a place to mark your circle so that you can punch it out. And what I'll do, now that I got my circles laid out, I will take my hole punch. Sorry, I had to step away for a second. Take my 3/8 hole punch. I got a nice circle to line it up with, and I can punch it out. So now it's transferred to both sides. It'll be completely even, both sides completely symmetrical, and this will give me a nice template to lay it down on the leather, cut it out, and I'm going to stitch this onto the body. And this is going to be a different color. So we're going to make the body black and the belt loop and the retention strap one of my favorite colors, the English bridle. So let me punch the rest of these out. So got the holes punched. Next step is just take a straight edge, and I really like this little one. This was something I got from my Uncle Paul after he passed away. A bunch of other things as well, but this has been one of the best little tools for making cuts on small places. So you just line up the little ruler on the edges of the hole, and with a couple of easy swipes, the old X-Acto, so you can feel your through. And I just like to cut on the right side of it, so I'm going to just flip that around and lined up. A couple of nice easy cuts. If you do a couple nice easy ones, you got much less chance of slipping if you're pushing too hard to make one cut for everything, and you end up having to start over with your pattern. So I mean, they're not perfect, but that's fine. Whenever I do it in the leather, it's going to be the same thing, and I'll smooth those out and burnish them so they will be just about right. So now I got the basic idea, the body of the holster. This will be black. I ended up giving it a little bit of a bevel up here on the end, so that it will sort of contour with the slant on the front of that rhino. And what we'll have here is, this is the belt loop system. It's going to lay over top, and it'll sort of match up here on top with the top edge of the holster, which will help to reinforce it and help keep it open for draw and for putting it back in. And where this might approximately land, my guess is somewhere about in here, which this will be a little bit of a retention screw. This will be the pocket for the trigger guard, and I think I might end up having to make it a little bit wider so that there's more room. I've never made anything with a rail underneath of it for a revolver, and I'm not sure what that's going to do for the fit. So we're going to have to try to get a piece of leather and try it out, make it a test run. Sometimes that's how we do it. Usually have to be careful about left and right orientation. In fact, that's why I'm using this piece of leather, because I started laying out a holster for a little bar keep, and I set it up as a left hand, and it needed to be a right hand. So I don't usually use pen on leather because it's just difficult to remove, and I use a little scribe and just make a light line. Since this is just a test piece, it's going to have some lines in it, but I don't care. I just want to see how this thing fits into leather. So laid her down, traced around it. Now we'll start giving her the cuts, and it's as simple as having a nice sharp leather knife and following the lines. Okay, so I made a pattern, cut this out of poster board, and what I approximated what might be enough room, and cut out a piece of scrap leather, not scrap, but leather that already has some marks in it that was not going to be really good for much else other than smaller pieces. And this is the reason I did it. So I actually got the gun into the leather, and once I got it wrapped around, I'm finding that I'm just not going to have enough room for stitching. So I need to extend this by at least 3/8, maybe a 1/2 inch. So we're going to widen out that pattern a little bit, which maybe I might have to widen this just a little bit. But here's a cool trick. To widen this out, I don't really have to add on to there. What I will do is split this right down the middle and add a 1/2 inch in, lay this down on another piece of leather, and cut her out. So this is why we do rough drafts. I cut the pattern down the middle. I'm going to use my mat. This mat is awesome, having these markings on. So I've got this half laid down on the 2-inch line. So I'm just going to line this one up on the 2-inch line, keep it on the straight on the mat. And what I've done effectively is I put an inch in the center, and that's going to give me 1/2 inch on each side. And using tape allows me to change it, move it, take it back apart. If I don't want a full inch, I can take it down to 1/4 inch, 3/8, whatever. And it's going to look like hell, but that's okay, because once I get this pattern remade, I will slap it down on another piece of poster board, and I'll have a nice pattern. Got our pattern widened out, put an inch in the middle, and tape actually makes it a little bit easier to flex it. So just laying the revolver down in there, lining up the edges, it looks like I'm going to be a lot safer for having room to stitch. Now what I can do also is, if I just put my first line of stitch on, it's going to be a little loose. I can make a second line of stitch, and they can be parallel for a little bit, and then they could just go back on top of each other. We'll just wait and see. We're going to trace this out, get another piece of leather, and we'll go to town. Well, I got busy to work in and I forgot to film anything, but got the pieces cut out. This is the belt loop. It's going to be on both sides, so it's going to be ambidextrous. Can be cross draw, left or right, or regular strong side vertical carry. I need to stitch along this edge. It's just glued right now, leather bond cement. I think I'm going to take a little break because I just did all this stitching, and it's a little tedious, but it's coming along. I didn't stain anything because this is just a prototype. This is a test, rough draft, whatever you want to call it, but we're getting there. Alright, here's one of the fun parts. We've got the revolver prepared, taped a section of pencil across the top to give a sight channel, and wrapped it in saran wrap. It's not going to hurt anything, it's stainless anyway, but we got the holster just damp, not soaking wet, just nice and damp, and here we go to start the molding process. Get it somewhere. Well, the prototype holster actually came out fairly well. Um, Nothing wrong with it. It's a good serviceable holster. In fact, we're going to give this one to Will. Um, the molding took okay. I didn't get too aggressive with it. Uh, this just has a little bit of oil and a little bit of stain on it. So it's a little hairy, a little rough inside, but it will work. But that's the key. It will work. That's the right pattern. I'm happy with it. So I got started on the official holster. Now I got all that panel stitched on tonight. I got the seam glued, and I'm just going to let it sit and dry. I've been stitching for a couple hours, and I need a break. I really wanted to finish up stitching on it so I could wet mold it tonight, but it's probably just going to have to wait a little bit longer. And hopefully we'll get it to him this weekend. I was hoping maybe I'd take it to him tomorrow night, but need another day or two. So we'll update when it's finished. Okay, it's finished. It's been wet and wet formed, so this is a little bit darker right now. It'll actually be about that color whenever I put the mink oil on it. But finished, finally. And it's got a real nice interior. It didn't take as much forming as the thinner leather did in the prototype, but it is what it is. And it's going to look really nice once it's been oiled. So I got to leave it dry overnight, and hopefully we'll get to deliver this to Will. Well, I don't know about tomorrow, but maybe Saturday. So hope everybody enjoyed it. I really didn't get to show much of making this one. I showed the steps in the prototype, but you see where it leads to. All right, thank you much.